Hello, I'm Debbie Foreman, your host. Welcome back to GAPCAST. This is my channel where we talk about the world of gaps, and it has two segments. So we're going to start with the first one, which is a reaction, where we react to infamous people that talk about the world of gaps. They talk about them, they mention them, they suggest, actions, but they do not provide the frameworks, the systemic frameworks. So after we do these reactions, we go to segment 2, which is called GAPTrax. Those are the tricks and hints, sorry about that, of how we use the frameworks to approach what they talked about. Okay, so today I got a suggestion from someone with a timestamp that is from Kati Mortin. That's good. She talks about resilience and the bridging the gap in resilience. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I did see that there's 10 clues or tricks or something like that to work with resilience. And our timestamp is going to bring us up to about number 4. Let's see what she has to say. I think this is like a 4-minute segment. Okay, resiliency. I want to see if she's going to define what it is, because resiliency is the filler for gaps, and there's a process to it. So let's
now,
see what
resiliency is defined as the capacity to
goes.
recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. But when it comes to our psychological health, it's a bit more than that. It's about our ability to manage any crisis or upset and get...
I think this couldn't be more timely. This was on our list of things for me to do, and it's been on the list for about 8 weeks. And just yesterday, I was given news that my father is terminally ill and that we're on a countdown. And so kind of like bouncing back from crisis. So I've been kind of in a shock state, and that means that I have to put all my skills to use, the ones that we use at GAPTrax. And I'm going to see how she does that from the psychological basis and not from the framework basis.
Back to baseline quickly, meaning that life's ups and downs don't throw us off for that long. We have tools and resources, and we can bounce back quickly. And no, stuffing things down and pretending they didn't happen does not count as resiliency, just FYI. And I've often in the past used the poker chip analogy to describe resilience. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've shared in other videos how we wake up with a certain number of poker chips. It's just a nice visual. And stressful or difficult things cost us some of those chips. Others prefer to use the spoons analogy, but either way, we're talking about good old-fashioned resilience.
She uses poker chips or the spoons analogy. I just use it as quotas of energy. How much energy do you wake up with, and at what time of the day is that energy drained? And by using framework, how do you maintain that energy flow throughout the day so your poker chips don't dissipate and you can get done what needs to be done, even in the hardest of times?
And I know you're wondering, how do we know what our resilience is or how good or bad we're doing with it? And the way to find that out is to notice, or even to think back to the last crisis that we had in our life. Think about how long it took for you to get back to feeling like yourself.
Very, very good observation, because I'm going to be 57 in a month. And that means that I've got 57 years under my belt of crises. So when you're young, the first or second or the first 2 maybe or 3 big crises that you have, they feel like they're infinite. They feel like you don't have the tools. But as you gain experience, if in the first crises that you have access to tools and a framework, and you learn to apply them from early on, then throughout a lifetime, your bounce back is going to be much better, because the older you get, the more crises you're going to have, especially in the sandwich generation.
Was it a quick turnaround, like lickety-split? Or did we struggle for weeks, months, or maybe even years? If we bounce back easily, we have more resilience. And if we struggle more to move past it, we have less. But no matter how much resilience we have, we can all benefit from more of it. And that's why today I'm sharing 10 ways that we can all build resiliency. And number 1, journal.
Okay, this is where I'm going to disagree. Journaling is really, really common. It's known as a very good tool. A lot of people use it. I do believe in documenting. I do believe in writing down, But I also believe that that needs to be used in framework, which I'm going to show in the next episode on GAPTrax, the frameworks that we use instead of journaling, because journaling means that you have to be very proactive and it forces you to try to do something that often you don't have the strength to do. And using frameworks, it kind of just like fill in the blank, and then using like neurolinguistic tricks, things like that, we're able to get to those, output that information without having to use that energy or force that a lot of people just don't have.
I know some of you won't like this one, or you don't even know how to get started in journaling.
Yeah,
And if you
go.
don't know, I do
Exactly.
have my journal club via YouTube memberships. It's $5 a month, and I share a journal prompt or a thought to get you going in your journal every Tuesday and Friday. So that could really help.
Even with a journal prompt doesn't mean that you have the strength or ability to get it all out, because it requires like mass dumping. This is why I'm a little bit stronger on framework here.
What journaling really does is it builds resilience because it helps us process all we may be feeling and going through. Getting all of our thoughts, upsets, worries, or whatever out and onto paper or a Google Doc, whatever, it can help us see situations more clearly and possibly feel less weighed down by them. And that in turn will help us move past any crisis more quickly and get back to our pre-crisis self.
She's right. When it's written down and you see it, then you get past it more quickly. Still, I don't believe that journaling is the solution. That's why I'm going to show you guys the framework. And I'm not saying it's not a solution. For some people, it's good. But for those that struggle, and they need to see clearly,
My
framework.
second tip, build a support system. This could be online through my Facebook group or 7 Cups, BetterHelp, Talkspace, or even our community as a whole, or truly wherever you find support online. But this should also be in person, whether that's friends, family, coworkers, your therapist, psychiatrist. And if you have trouble meeting people and making friends, don't worry. I've got you. I have some videos about that. Just search Kati Mortin.
Okay, breaking that down real quick. Number 2 is create the support system, creating a support system. And community is one of the strongest things. It does not have to be online. She said that. But what she did leave out there is faith-based communities. And it doesn't matter what faith you are, but in a faith-based community, you have leadership that works with connecting you to not just yourself, not just to the group, not just to structure, but to a higher force. And I also believe you don't need to have friends in faith-based, and it doesn't need to be online. You can do online, but when you're online, sometimes that support system needs more. You need a hug. You need a shoulder. You need to cry. You need to get up. You need to walk out. And so I'm going to say support systems, yes, online, they help. But I'm also going to say that you also get a lot out of faith-based, community-based, neighborhood-based.
And they'll pop right up. And there's this quote that I love that really, I don't know, I just feel like it totally expresses why support systems are helpful and so vital to our life. And the quote is, "A joy shared is a joy doubled. A sorrow shared is a sorrow halved." Having people we can talk things out with can really help us work through it and get back to being ourselves more quickly.
Yes. Once again, you need to be able to trust who you're talking to. And a lot of times strangers feel safer than those who think they know you or they know you a certain way. And to be able to share something, you need to also know that it's going to be very discreet and that that information is going to be held in privacy.
Now, my third tip is to take care of your basic needs. In DBT, I reference this all the time. We call this HALT. And that stands for hungry,
angry, lonely,
and
and tired.
If we don't take care of those basic needs, we aren't as resilient. I mean, just think about it.
Hungry. Well, we all need to eat. Angry. We get angry at ourselves. We get angry at the people around us. We get angry at time. We get angry at God or whatever your spiritual guidance is. And that anger is not good. And so a lot of times we need resiliency means that removing that anger and being able to name it, identify it. Lonely. That's where the support systems come in. Tired. Absolutely exhausting when you're in crisis mode. Exhausting.
There's a reason people call it being hangry. We get angry and are more easily upset when we're hungry. And the same can be said if we're overly tired. So if you need to take a break, take it. If you're hungry, grab a snack or meal. And if you're sick, please see a doctor and take some time off. Taking care of yourself is really the foundation of resilience. So making that a priority will pay dividends for how well you manage anything life throws at you.
And to add to that, she's absolutely correct. It should be a lifelong habit. We have to take care of ourselves to avoid being weak when the crisis hits, not just when the crisis hits that you start. Okay.
My fourth tip is to notice your self-talk. I know I talk about this all the time, but if we feel confident and good about ourselves, we can take on more. So notice if you're talking shit to yourself or if you're being kind and compassionate.
Okay, so this is where I believe framework comes in better than prompts, because she's saying notice your self-talk. When you're in crisis mode, you do not notice what you're doing. You're in a fog. And so, yeah, you can be semi-aware of it. You go, oh, I just, talk shit like she just said or whatever. But I honestly believe that this is the time where the framework forces you to actually identify how you view yourself and become aware of that. And we're going to show that on the next one.
If it's hard to be kind, maybe think of what your best friend or mom would say to you and write those nice things down. You could even improve your self-talk by ending each day by writing down 3 to 5 things that you like about yourself.
So that's like journaling again. You take the initiative, and that's why I keep going back to framework on these really hard moments, because it's on these really hard moments that the framework really forces out. And we're going to be showing that, because write down 3 to 5 things. What 3 to 5 things? How do I write it out? What am I looking for? How do I compare it? And that's where these gaps arise.
It can be really, really hard. But nothing worth having is easy. So stick with it. And I swear you will feel the difference. Also, if it's too hard to come up with the good things to say about yourself, it's okay to use bridge statements. For example,
bridge statements. I keep clicking when her eyes are closed. There we go. So bridge statements. Bridge statements means you're going to bridge. You're going to close a space, which are the gaps. And I'm pretty sure she's building up to it right now, because when you're bridging, you're closing and you're connecting one side to the other where there's a space, an empty space. Hollow.
If saying that I look great and I am important is just too much for me, which I think it is for a lot of us, right? Instead of trying to say that, I could say, it is possible that I'm not as bad as I think I am. Start there. That will help bridge the gap between the nasty self-talk
there we are.
And the nice self-talk. Number 5.
Okay, I'm going to end it here because we just talked about bridging the gap between the nasty self-talk and the nice self-talk. It's more than self-talk. It's self-awareness. It's an understanding of how you are being seen, how you're being heard, how you're being understood. And when you're in a crisis mode, you often feel loathsome. You're loathing. So you're going to talk yourself down. But you don't necessarily see that in a mirror, because you think that people will be more compassionate or empathetic, or they'll come to your rescue, which isn't true. And so what she's talking about, self-talk, I'm going to talk about, we'll show the framework on that, how it goes. And it kind of like realigns not just how you see yourself, but how you are perceived and how others see you. So I'm going to call it quits at about here, because that was the bridging the gap that she was talking about, your self-talk. So as we just saw, I'm going to stop it about here, because what she's really, really talking about and what she's really doing here is like, self-talk is a hard one for me, because it's only one side of the story. And that's why framework brings us to the dual perception, both sides of the perception. Great information. Katie, great. I'm on board. Framework can avoid, framework can correct, halt. And with framework, you don't bring just that internal part. You carry those frameworks into your life, into your personal life, but also into your professional life. They work within the workforce. So when you see somebody self-loathing at work, self-talking, you're like, I can't deal with it. You can say, hey, listen, sit down with me for 15 minutes. Let's see I want you to see what I'm saying. Is there a way to correct that? It really improves communication. It improves outcomes. It improves results. It takes the stress away. And so we're going to move into the framework in a little bit. Regardless, Katie, wonderful content. Congratulations. You got a great audience. I love your stuff. And, thank you all for being here. Do not forget to do the finger crawl, to like, comment, subscribe, and now go over to the next one. And we'll see you there with the framework.